Hi all, Mike here with CineSamples, and this is the part 1 of 4 of the CinePerc walkthrough. So in this video, I'm going to focus on the first library in our series, which we're calling CinePerc Core. Now this library is, we consider it to be sort of the foundation of the percussion template, sort of like the basics of what you need to get started. It includes snare drums, bass drums, timpani, cymbals, piatti, xylophone, Glock, and a few other things. I think like with just this one library, this could be a good starting point for anyone who's interested in kind of building their template new with new percussion. So let's get started. Let's start with the concert snares. Now, this first patch, what we've done is we've tried to cut down as much as we could on having a million different patches. So each patch actually has several different instruments in the one patch. So if you look at this one thing, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different snares in this one patch. So why don't I just go ahead and play some stuff. Right. Now, the mapping of all of these instruments is in the manual, and highly recommend you kind of check out how we have things laid out. And once you figure out the pattern with the way we've done things, I think it'll be really really intuitive for you. Okay, so we've got snare hits, rolls, right? And then we have sort of these forte piano hits. Now what's cool about those is you can actually hit the forte piano hit along with the rolls, and you kind of get this, that kind of thing. Now every instrument has multiple microphone positions. This one has a full mix, close, overhead, mid, room, and surround. So you can kind of take a listen to the different choices you have here. Here is the sort of close and tight. Now what this is the spot mic in addition to sort of a little bit of the overhead mic. And that sounds like this. Right? I'll just skip ahead to the ambient one. And by the way, everything, this is all with the snares on, but then if you press a little key switch, snares off, snares on. We've got 6 different drums here, snare on, snare off, so it's really 12 different styles of snare drum just in that one patch. Let's move on. We have a second patch of a few more snare drums if that wasn't enough. And this is sort of the bigger drums, military snares, the tenor drums, and then there's also this one called a metal snare, which has a pretty unique sound. So this is okay. Let's move on here. All right, the timpani. This thing took forever to sample. This took us a full day. Well over 8 hours of continuous sampling. Because what we've done is for every single note, we sampled 5 round robin, at 5 different velocities for 3 different mallets. So that's 5 times 5 times 3. 75 notes. So 75 samples per note. And the way we've mapped it, we're just talking about the hits now. You've got the hits, which are mapped sort of here, the left hand, and then the right hand hits are up here. So you can do stuff like this. Right? So the way it's mapped by default is there's 3 different mallets, and you don't want to have to be switching between the different mallets all the time. So by default, the lowest velocities from 1 to 70, if you look here, that is the soft mallet, right? And then if you go to sort of 71 to 100, that's the medium mallet. There. And then the hard mallet, which are like these wooden sticks, that gets a nice crack at the top. So it gives you a really huge range in tonal sound just per key. Of course, you can set up your own. You can have the whole thing be one soft mallet, of all 5 velocities of soft mallet, or all 5 velocities of just the medium mallet, etc. So that's the hits, right? Left and right hits. And then down here, this is all the rolls, just the sort of held one dynamic roll. So, and you can control that with the mod wheel. Right. Okay. Now the next thing, now you can kind of do those crescendo rolls with the regular rolls, but it's not as realistic. So we also sampled crescendo rolls, different lengths and different dynamics. So if you hold the pedal down, the sustain pedal, that's what I'm doing now, it puts everything in crescendo roll mode. So down here, this is this short kind of rolls. The short crescendos, and then up here, the longer crescendos. If you notice, they actually respond to velocity. So that actually, at the high velocity, that's the sticks. If you do it medium, that's going to be the medium mallet. Do it softly, it's going to be the soft mallet. You get those nice warm kind of rolls. Okay, that's the basic gist of the timpani. Let's move on. We also got Timpani Effects. So there's no way to fit that onto the patch, so we threw it on a separate patch here. And we got all sorts of things like, glissandi and where are we? Right. And then we actually got some short hits where you just go boom, and then quickly dampen it. And then up here, like just hitting the rim of the timpani with sticks. Show you the settings tab real quick here. So, of course, we have all these built-in settings for effects and things. This was all in CineWinds and CineBrass. Here's the delay. Okay, orchestral symbols. These are actually very hard to sample as well. So these contain everything. When I say orchestral symbols, I mean suspended cymbals, crash cymbals, piatti, different sizes, all that stuff. So we've got is the suspended cymbals. That's these guys. We have sort of a bright suspended cymbal. Different crescendo roll lengths. Okay. The brighter one, and then here's a darker one. It's a bigger cymbal. Okay. And then we have a sizzle cymbal. Okay. You can actually, if you don't like the lengths of those crescendos, you can do your own. Kind of like riding all the way up and let go. And then piatti, we've got 3 different kinds. We've got So the way we sampled it is we got the big crash, which is open, and then we got a close where you kind of crash, and then quickly come back and dampen it, right? And then that's where you take the cymbals and you just go without letting it open, right? We got that for all three of these. Open, closed. Actually, this is considered closed. That's considered dampened. Okay. That's the basic idea for the cymbals. Kind of trying to move fast here. Bowed cymbals. You can't get by without these. Right. All right, now the bass drums. Got two different kinds of bass drums. Now with this, we did 3 different mallets as well. So the first mallet is this like giant, like white, giant cotton ball thing. And you just hit it, and it's just like, it has this awesome round wool kind of sound to it. And we got a rubber mallet, a little bit harder, sort of a standard mallet. And now this one is sticks. Kind of hear that, a little bit of a high-end clack to it. Right? We've got some rim hits and sort of on the rim effects. Now, same thing, we got rolls, right? Roll these. Now what we did is everything across all of these patches is mapped exactly the same. So say you write a part in the snare drum, and you're trying to move fast, and you just want to get the bass drums playing the same thing. You just copy and paste to the same channel of the bass drum, and it'll work on both patches. So C's are always the hits, the C's and the D's, right? The rolls are always B, for example. And you should definitely check out the manual to see how we've mapped everything. We went through painstakingly every single patch and showed you exactly how everything is mapped. But as long as you know that everything kind of hovers around all of the C's, it's a good starting point. All right, that's bass drum 1, and then bass drum 2. This is a smaller bass drum. Actually, this is probably more of your standard orchestral bass drum. The other one was this giant monstrosity. Right. By the way, the bass drum is a good one to use this effect called the... All right, actually, let me go into this settings page. So for all of the patches, we've got reverb control. We moved into the settings page because we ran out of room on the mixer view. So we've got the reverb setting over here with the presets for different types of IRs. Then there's this left-right swap. So if you remember from the behind the scenes video, Dennis talked about how we wanted to capture the stereo spread of the location of these instruments. So some instruments, like say the tubular bells, they were sampled all the way over to the left, but you might want to have them over to the right. So just click this and it will swap it. I think that's a good thing to have. I've got a bunch of effects here. Now let me talk about this round robin thing. This gives you detailed round robin control of all of the patches. By default, it's set to random. So let's say your sample has 5 round robin, right? That means when you hit the key, let's say you're maintaining the same velocity, you hit it 5 times, it's going to randomly choose one of those 5 and never duplicate the previous one. It's never going to repeat the same note again, and it'll never create that sort of cycling effect. We put it on cycle, you'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And sometimes you can hear that. And that's actually, sometimes you want that because you want to have sort of a predictability in the way the sequence is played back every single time. So that's why we came up with this idea for a round robin reset. So when this is on, what will happen is, say you play your sequence all the way through, you know, and the thing goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it stopped on 3. Now, when you play back from bar 1, it's going to start on round robin 4. So then it's going to be 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So it's not the same samples anymore. So I know a lot of composers actually like to make sure that when the sequence is played, it's played exactly the same way every time. So what this is, if you increase, this is the amount of time delay after you're done playing for it to reset. So by default, it's around 5 seconds. So if I stop on round robin 3, I wait 5 seconds, it'll reset back to 1. So I can know every single time I start on bar 1, it'll be round robin 1 every time. Okay, that's getting super tweaky. But I know some of you appreciate that, I think. All right, then we have a sample start adjustment knob. This was stemmed over from Piano in Blue. Now, when we released Piano in Blue, we had a handful of customers who were sort of complaining about the latency of the piano. Because the way we sample is, especially for keys and things like percussion, you have a very strong attack. There's this transient point. And what a lot of other developers do is they cut right to that transient, and they miss out on all of this sort of extra air and realism in the beginning before the hit. It's like a microsecond. But we make sure to cut just before the transient. You get that bit of like whoosh of the mallet or the hammer hitting the string. But what that does is it brings in a little bit of latency. So you can increase the sample start knob and it'll bring that start time over right to the transient. The downside is you're going to lose that life and realism in the attack. So I recommend keeping it off, but if you're obsessed with latency and wanting it to be exactly on the dot, go ahead and turn it on and mess around with that. All right, and then we have simple attack and release controls. And this is particularly cool for the bass drum for creating your own sounds. So here's the attack increased on the... What that does, it kind of, instead of it being a strong attack, it just kind of like washes into it. Like, and you can lower the... create your own sub booms. All right. And then also we have a release control. See that? So here's all the way up. It kind of lets it ring. If I turn it down a little bit, really kind of closes it off quickly. Okay, I hope I'm not rambling. I'm trying to get through all this stuff. Here is the concert toms. So we've got 6 sizes of toms, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have ensemble hits, like, you know. Okay, so same deal with these. You got the hits on the C's and then the rolls on the D's. And you got these other thing like called flams. You kind of go ba-dum, and then rolls into it, sort of like this duck-a-dump. That's the concert toms. Tam-tam. We grabbed 3 different kinds of tam-tam. Effects, hits. Okay, here's your TV score. tambourines. 4 different tambourines. And triangles and mark tree. This here. We have actually 6 triangles that we sampled. Right, here's the rolls. All together. And then up here we've got the mark tree. Okay. And Glockenspiel, or orchestral bells. Glockenspiel, or orchestral bells. Tubular bells. And xylophone. There you go. That is the patches that come with CinePerc Core. One more thing, though, that I forgot to mention. Let me pull up the timpani. There it is. Okay, timpani. Now, a lot of these instruments, we actually, we went back after we sampled everything. Dennis brought the whole sample set up to his studio and did a remix of everything. So what we have on some of these instruments that have a lot of low end is the addition of this LFE sub channel. So for example, on the timpani, we have, this is for someone, if you have a quad setup in your studio, you got 2 stereo speakers in the front, you got 2 surround speakers in the back, and then 1 sub. All you have to do is initialize these 3 faders for quad front, quad surround, and LFE sub, and just route them to the appropriate location, and you have a full 4.1 mix. So I think that's one of the cool highlights of this library. Anyway, I thanks for watching, and please take a look at parts 2 through 4 of the remainder of the CinePerc series. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.